There's never been people as professional as us.
No, there hasn't.
Just watching the button to see if we're live.
It says we are something.
Oh, we're getting adverts.
Oh.
It would suggest that we're probably live.
There we go.
It says stream configuration quality excellent. Oh, here we are. Alright, so I'm just gonna... Oops, gotta turn him down to 0. Mute. There. Alright. Hey everyone, welcome to the Spoilercast with Laura Kate Dale, Stacy, and Mari. I almost said Stacy's last name out loud on a stream.
Oh my god. Wait, do you even know how to pronounce it correctly? Because I'm pretty sure you don't.
Well, let's see. I always say it wrong. When I used to call you when you were sick, I'd be like, hey, is Stacy blank there? And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, Stacy blank. And I'm like,
I'd be like, who's that?
How do you spell it? And I'd be like, fuck.
So, anyways, hello everyone. Welcome to the Spoilercast for the Turing test.
I'm Mari,
where did
by
you
the
guys
way.
want to start?
I think there's only one acceptable place to start with this spoiler cast, which is that both of you are completely and utterly correct in your Let's Play that's a robot that sounds really like I wanna kiss them a bit.
Yeah, he's a sexy robot.
Sexy.
Yeah, Tom has a damn sexy voice right there. I know this is not like, spoilers, but
By the
I think
way,
it
I
needs to be
figured
said.
out how we would have sex with Tom.
Okay,
I figured it out.
Was that a little Freudian slip there, Mari? Jesus.
Are we talking logistically or morally? How you
Logistically,
would do
but
it.
not morally, because I don't know what that is. Given given that Tom can give consent and
Right,
says
but
yes.
She's talking about the robot consent paradox.
Yes,
Or
the robot
theorem
consent.
that we figured out.
We will get into after this. So the implants, they control your brain, right? So what's to say he
Right.
can't modify it so that he can stimulate your clitoris or whatever. And you can like close your eyes and it'll feel like he's touching you. He's like, just close your eyes. And it'll be like crazy. And he can like
But
control your orgasm and keep you on the edge for like hours and shit like that.
My question is, how do you satisfy Tom back? Because
Yeah.
you are not a super able to control specific things robot.
Maybe
Here's the
one of
thing.
those-
It'll be like in Portal where GLaDOS gets satisfaction from completing puzzles. It'll be like that.
Maybe
Are
it's
you
like,
being offensive here and assuming that all robots find solving puzzles a
oh
satisfying
yeah,
task?
all the same. Maybe
I'm sorry.
he's one of those robots that like finds intellectual stimulation to be really gratifying.
Maybe he. Since he's interfaced with your body, he feels the orgasm with you.
I'm on board with this fan fiction scenario you've created.
So it's like
Yeah.
masturbation /
Sex, because he feels the orgasm with. He's like, I've never like. Okay, so Eva's like masturbating. He's like, what was that? Because he's like interfaced with her all the time, and then he's like, hold on, let me try this out. And, like, gives her crazy orgasms. And the crazier hers is, the crazier his is, because it's the same one.
Woo!
We did it!
So talking about some, like, actual spoiler stuff. End of this game with Tom the robot, Tom the AI. Do we think that one of those endings implies that Tom was able to have full sentient control over his actions and be like, yeah, I'm able to make decisions and ignore protocol. I am an AI.
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah,
But it's all up to
it would-
opinion.
It would seem to suggest that because he was given the go-ahead to kill them if they did not comply, the ending where he doesn't kill everybody is the one where he proves that he can pass the Turing test.
In my opinion,
Yes.
I'm not talking about the Turing test because I know that's something different, but in my opinion,
Well,
the ability to empathize, I don't know what the correct word is, the ability to empathize and make morally correct decisions, even if he says it weird, when he's like, I'm going to stop you, I'm going to save the world and stuff like that. I think if he chooses both either decision he makes, he's like a person, if that makes sense. I don't know what the right word for that is, but he's like a fully formed person.
Yeah, well, because like that's the choice in which he decides to like let them both go, knowing the consequence it will happen. It's not a logical choice he makes. It's a choice he's making based on opinion or thought or emotion, and that is definitely like hey, that's the thing that we didn't think you could do. You could have got in here by yourself all along.
I think it's a very human choice to not be able to kill them, even though that's the right thing. Because as an AI who, when you go through all of the computer terminals, I forget, but Tom is given the direction to like stop at nothing, lethal force authorized. And so for him to choose not to kill them, that's like a choice that he makes by himself.
Yeah.
Even though I actually, that's obviously not like the quote unquote ideal ending.
It's the human choice.
I
think that was the theme of the game. According to the developers, it's the human choice.
Oh, that humans are idiots? Yeah.
Yeah. I think
that.
That's the theme they were trying to get across, even though both Stacey and I were like, no, just murder him. It's fine. Just kill him.
I know.
Who cares?
We get it.
We got it. Just kill him. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just why not? So, like, I thought that the whole, the way that they balanced making his arc of villain/not villain went really well, because at first it seemed really bloody obvious. You're clearly a villain. That's all you are. You're going to be the villain. End of story. And the number of times I went back and forth on, wait, okay, now do I question maybe I trust him? Do I not trust him? Oh, no, I definitely trust him. Oh, no, I definitely don't. Right up until the end, I didn't know how I felt about Tom.
I think
which
my
I thought
immediate
was fantastically done.
Irrational emotions about him kind of let me down in that I didn't get to have that that dilemma, because my emotions were definitely irrational when it came to him. I just for some reason I was like, he's a slave, let him go.
Yeah.
It just
well, like, I at least had my moment at the beginning of like, he is trying to like manipulate us, like, obviously at this point not knowing that he was manipulating us through a brain chip, but it's like he's trying to manipulate us into getting him in here. He's clearly not meant to be in here. Something is wrong. I shouldn't trust him.
Well, there's
like,
something
right
interesting
but...
that happens is that between his two instances, he says there's inconsistencies between the two of them, which shouldn't happen considering he's a computer. Because he says there's like things that happen on his side that didn't happen on the other side and stuff like that, and I'm just like,
why wouldn't that happen?
Well,
they're running in parallel. You know what I mean?
I know, but if there's inconsistencies in my head, I imagine that to be something like things happening at different times or something.
I get why it feels weird in that like you tend to picture, oh, this thing is a robot, so because everything is done logically, nothing would change from instance to instance.
Mm-hmm.
But what I thought they were trying to go for was more sort of that because he was in two physical locations at once, he was both on the satellite and down in the station, there was this inconsistency because, at this moment in time, I was simultaneously, being shut out of the base, but I was also on the satellite managing the bodies. Like, he was doing two things at once, and he had to work out what was I doing at that time.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I found somebody's dead body. I found their grave, and I don't know what that means.
Oh.
There's also, the inconsistency between his motivations on the surface versus on the station, because on the station he's like, I don't know what's wrong, like, I need your help, blah blah blah, there's something wrong with the crew, blah blah blah. And once he kind of like reconciles that with his self that's in the base, it's the narrative is a little bit different because they had two different motivations going on,
Well, I think, all right, I am not 100% sure. I went over this and then I kind of forgot to double check. But the dates in that, remember that room that somebody told us to look inside of?
Yeah.
And it said, like, from Captain blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I found his grave, and it said, like, died on this date. And I'm pretty sure the date was before the email was sent. Which would mean that Tom was pretending to be that guy when he sent those emails.
But
I'm not sure.
From what we know of Tom, I don't doubt that he might have been manipulating us in a lot of the things he said. Like, certainly towards the beginning, it seems like he's being sincere in some regards, but, like, I wouldn't put it past him to have just been manipulating from the start, because that's kind of, what he had to do.
Yeah, I think it's funny because, like, even if he was manipulating us, I honestly, once I found out why, like, what the reason might have been for that, I didn't particularly care.
Yeah,
because
no,
I agreed with his motivation, and so it's like, well, if what you have to do to, like, preserve the human race is to keep them from leaving, and you think that manipulating me is the best way to do that, then go for it.
Sorry, go on.
It's weird because usually I'm the person who's like, no, we gotta be free, America, like, let everyone die. I'd rather die than be a slave. But for this one, like, the circumstances were so extreme where I was like, yeah, just kill them. Like, 6 people for every single person and every single living creature on the face of the planet Earth. Okay, like, I can get on with that. Usually I'm like, no, we gotta be free, man. We gotta be free, but...
Free to make our own choices.
We gotta be free to make our own choices, but this is finally the one dilemma where I'm like, oh, all existence in all of it. Okay, well then, okay, you can kill them. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, well, it's like, I understand the logic that, what was the lady's name that was going to take the chip out of our hand towards the end?
Sarah, I think.
Sarah. Like, I get Sarah's logic of, hey, we're going to be able to get rid of death. Death is a thing that, consistently saddens, and, like, it's the main thing that motivates people through sadness. We could get rid of that. Wouldn't that be great? She totally didn't think it through, but I get where that came from.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get your motivation. I get why, that's not a thing that you can really let happen. But it was well thought through, and I understand, like, she was going for what she thought was right and what you could understand wanting to go for.
I felt it a bit frustrating that the humans were so hard to... I knew what they were saying, but just didn't feel like reactions that people would have, if that makes... Or maybe that's because they were alone for so long they went crazy, but
I think that's what the game is trying to communicate, because what they're doing is they're juxtaposing Tom, who is an AI, who is thinking about this pretty much as rationally as possible in, like, we have to kill these humans here in order to save humanity. And then you have the humans, on the other hand, doing the very human thing, which is, when faced with their own mortality, acting completely irrationally.
I totally get that. Like, I agree with you. It's just that I feel as if that dilemma, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, it's just a little bit too stark, because they're being too one-dimensional, I guess, but...
They are,
but not like, all of the humans felt that way.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those things, like, on a fundamental level, if you boil it down, most people find the thought of death scary if they don't believe in an afterlife, because you've got this situation of, oh, there will be nothing forever, and that's terrifying. And if you were given an option to say, hey, you don't have to think about the possibility of eternal nothing, you can have eternal something.
Well, on
an emotional level, that's really hard to logically turn down.
When I was a teenager, I read this book about the psychology of immortality. And most of the time, if someone's guaranteed that they'll be remembered as a hero, they consider that as immortality. And that's why people are willing to die. But whatever. Like, it was some random book that I read. So it's like...
I mean, I think that... it's really easy for us to, like, look at the game, like, logically, like, from a completely outside perspective and be like, oh, well, clearly you would choose to, like, save humanity. But they think they're saving humanity by, this this is the cure to basic. They're thinking of it as like this is the cure to every disease. You know,
Yeah.
like nobody has to die. Where we'll be.
It's the cure to the end point of a disease. It's not the cure to the symptoms of a disease.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
They're not thinking quite correctly. You know, they're not like thinking everything through. But I think that they're also kind of like blinded by the discovery. I mean, all you have to do is watch pretty much any movie about some like archaeologist or scientist who like goes mad with the majesty of their discovery, you know, and like does not think through exactly all the implications of it, and therefore makes bad choices, and that's pretty much what I see here, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, holy crap, we found like the cure to, you know, death.
I guess I can't expect everyone to be excited about being immortal alone with a robot to fuck for all of eternity. I mean, I didn't see a downside to it.
Yeah. So like I really enjoyed just like the trio we had of like Sarah is the person there being like, we need to live forever and we have the way. You've got Tom who's like, no, living forever is what's gonna destroy humanity, don't do it. And then Ada in the middle, Ava, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking Ada Lovelace for something.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I keep going to. Ava was sort of in the middle for the longest time, like, both of these have merit. What do I do? Seemed to be her role for most of that game.
Well, here's the thing, you don't know if she's in the middle because Tom's in her head or not, so it's like weird. She starts to getting a little bit more resistance once he lets go of her mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't read any of the materials that we read about like what those chips do. I didn't read any of that as mind control. I read it as like they can influence how your brain is rewarded for making certain decisions, meaning that it can encourage you to do certain things, but like if you disagreed with something, it's not gonna like change, you know?
Yeah, it seemed like it was basically creating a very strong Pavlovian response to everything.
Yeah.
Where it's the sort of, oh, the bell rings, you did a thing, you're gonna get a treat sort of response.
Yeah. Not like literal mind control. He can control your every thought and motion. But
enough to influence, because Pavlovian response is a fairly powerful thing. It's not insignificant.
Yeah, I don't think that could overcome. I just find it hard to believe that like pretty much the entire crew except for one person, and I think it's Dan. Dan is the one person who's like, no, you're right. Like, this is necessary. Like, we have to, Tom, do whatever you have to do. And then Dan, like, goes off and dies. He commits suicide, basically. And then the rest of the crew figures out what's going on. And Tom isn't able to, like, counteract that, which suggests to me that it's not mind control. Because if it was, they'd never figure it out.
If you're going to say it's not particularly strong, like, it was clearly strong enough mind control to stop you walking through certain doorways.
Yeah.
And to be like, I physically can't walk this direction.
Wait, no, you know what that was? That was Ava taking over her own body. Because we play as Tom, we don't play as Ava.
Yeah, I know we were playing as Ava, but did you not read that as, like, because I thought
in my opinion, I thought we were playing as Tom, because every time Ava does her own thing, we get pulled out of her body, and whenever they interfere, we lose control over Ava. So
yeah,
I thought,
I wasn't sure at that moment if that was like Sarah and Co being like, nope, not this way, come to us in our suit. So I still feel like at some point they were trying to make use of the control chip to get us over there to talk to us about Tom.
Yeah, probably. Here's the thing. So, wondering, do you guys think that this whole thing was just a Turing test in his simulation back on Earth? Or no?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I initially thought that, but no matter which choice you pick at the end, it says you have passed the Turing test.
Yeah.
To
and,
me,
like, if one of those endings had said you'd passed the Turing test, but one of them had said you'd failed, I'd have said, yes, this was a Turing test, the whole thing was a simulation.
Yeah.
in my opinion, I feel like both endings pass the Turing test anyway, but it's like, why would that be the final letters of the game?
See, I feel like the one where he kills them doesn't pass.
No,
I feel like the
agree.
one where he kills them does pass because he's like made his own choice. Well, okay, yeah, maybe
they give him a command to do it and he does it.
Yeah,
help him.
He
No,
doesn't- he
wait.
doesn't
The reason
make
why
an
he passes
emotional
in that
choice.
one is he shows genuine remorse when no one else is around to witness it. And before that, he says something like, the true character of who you are is what you do when no one else is around. And when he kills her, he's sad and he's like, where are you? Nobody else is around to witness that or for him to trick. He's alone. So it showed genuine sadness.
The question is still there, like, going back to the Chinese room experiment, is it possible that that's the response he's expected to have
Yeah.
when no one else is around?
I
Like,
mean,
I don't know that
there are
that's
still
enough-
other humans in the place.
Yeah,
In my
like, I
opinion-
don't know that for me that's enough to say that he passes the Turing test, whereas I would definitely say for the one where he chooses not to shoot them, he definitely has passed the Turing test.
In my opinion, I feel like we're all like coded by our genetics and our experiences anyway. So I feel like when something replies in the way that it thinks it should, or maybe I'm just like a weirdo, but I'm like, that's it, because the way
Well,
we have genetics and we have our experiences that shape the way we respond to things. That's our own program.
But we are coded with it individually. We don't. Tom is coded by somebody else.
but there's also the point that we have an understanding of the significance of that response to that situation, whereas we saw that Tom had a response, but we don't know that that was a response that significance was felt, perhaps. Whereas, like, going against his active orders is an action that suggests, like, oh, you didn't do the thing that programming would suggest would be the logical thing to do. That is a thing that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, that's clearly the human choice, you know?
Yes.
Whereas the other one, I feel like, could be argued either way. That's what I like about this game, is that so many of the things that happen could be argued one way or the other. Like throughout the whole game, we were constantly coming up against situations where it was like, does this mean this or does it mean that? You know, does this mean Tom like actually has feelings, or is he just obeying his coding? Like, what is the difference? Blah blah blah.
I also really like that it tackled the idea of humanity in the way that that DNA works, and the way that we're brought up as being analogous to AI. Like, the parallels it drew there, while not perfect, were interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, like, it did a good job at handling that stuff, certainly. I also just really like the fact that the correct choice, I think, or at least the choice that I would say was correct, was not the human choice. Like, the choice that would probably do more good, and that doesn't have the same wide-reaching negative consequences, is not the human choice.
I realize the human choice is to let them live, but in context of like not saying this was a military setting, we don't know, but in terms of a military setting or something like that, or even like, you know, in the movie Alien, Ripley let her ship crew die, or one of her crew die because he was, or not die, but he was infected, and so she wouldn't let him in. Like, I feel like that's a thing that happens all the time.
No, we don't. It's not meant that way. What the human choice means, quote unquote, is that he's able to disobey the programming.
Oh, right.
That's
okay.
It
yeah.
It doesn't mean like.
Yeah. It's not the only choice a human could make, but it's the choice that demonstrates a level of picking emotion over rationality.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
and the fact that is not the choice that I would consider the correct choice to make in that situation is interesting.
Yeah. Well,
it's an actual good moral conundrum that doesn't have a clear answer to it.
And everyone's like, why are they okay with killing these 6 people for the world, but they were totally not okay with killing Chloe for a town? I was like, that's different!
I see, exactly. That's the human element.
That's different!
None of these things, like, it's never directly comparable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what being a human is that you can look at these situations and, you know...
I guess the whole disconnect that they gave us to the humans was able to get us to agree with Tom more in terms of the writing and the display, the way the story was drawn out.
Well, can you imagine if instead of this being a puzzle game where we never really meet the crew, if this was instead where we play this completely from the beginning with the crew and we get to know them and everything, and we never know about this like later moral conundrum that we're going to come up against. And then at the end, we have to decide to kill everybody, you know?
Like Tom would have come across so much more like a GLaDOS-esque obvious villain had that being the case, because
I think it's so cool that we get to play as the bad guy.
Oh god, being able to swap back and forth from being Tom was so good mechanically.
But I also like that we get to like be the bad guy and agree with the bad guy and be like, no, the bad guy's right. He's right. You guys are stupid. You have to die.
They did such a good job explaining his motivations. Like the whole explanation of his different way of thinking at no point belittled it as lesser of a thought pattern. It was just like, no, okay, I see why you think that. Don't agree, but I see why you think it.
Yeah. Well, that's another one of the things that I loved about this game is that I think it's possible to understand someone's viewpoint while not agreeing with them, and I really like games that make that apparent, where it's like, oh, you know, because not everything is just like a good guy or a bad guy. Sometimes it's just like 2 people are coming at something differently, and it's about understanding them, not necessarily being like, this person is a villain. Because Tom isn't actually necessarily a villain, like, or a good guy. He's just an AI that's doing what's necessary, you know?
His method of making decisions is not based on subjective morals. It is based on brute force attempts to find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's not inherently a worse way of doing things. In fact, like, it's as he himself points out, it's the system by which nature works and by which evolution seems to work, is that it's brute force, let's try and create every creature that could exist and we'll see which ones, you know,
like no
which ones survive. But like that's not a bad way for a machine to try and solve a problem. It's the way that brute force hacking attempts work. It is a thing that computers already do. Let's use the fact that we can try a million things a second and see which one works. Yeah. It's not inherently a bad way of trying to fix problems.
Yeah, just try all the things and see what works. It's like just how platypuses came to be.
Yeah, just try everything until we get a nice check mark, and then we move on.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought the game was really... I liked how it was designed. I like the puzzles a lot, but I also... I mean, I hate it when puzzles are obtuse, and so I don't know if we've just played a lot of games that, like, have given me, like, puzzle PTSD.
Oh, no, it's... The one that you guys brought up on the Let's Play, which was Broken Age Act 2.
Oh, God.
Yeah, perfect example of, like, bad puzzle design being that one where the snake is actively telling you, go away. Okay, you've waited here long enough, nothing else is going to happen now. Now it's time to go away, and you have to actively ignore that and keep waiting.
Oh.
Like, that's bad design for a puzzle. Like, that's obtuse puzzle design that's just meant to frustrate you. I never felt that way about the Turing test.
I know. It's like even when we'd get stuck on a puzzle, we would eventually solve it, and I always trusted that we would because it didn't feel like it was out of reach.
Yeah, and it always felt like it was never too often variations on the same theme. It was right, we did this once, now let's test you on a different aspect of lateral thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That was
You know
really
what I
nice.
thought was interesting?
It kept the variation up.
So what I figured out was, the main Turing test was for humans, and those bonus rounds, they were in the same logic as Tom, where you would try each solution until it worked. The first one was try each solution until it worked, and that would open up, and you'd find what's his name's grave. The second one was just putting boxes in front of it. At first I thought these were like human ones, but these are the solutions that a computer would do. And the one that really solidified what I thought, it was somebody pointed out that the last one was the second to the last one was computer code for like something, and that's how you figure it out.
So here's a very quick thought I've just had. Is it possible those puzzles were set up by Tom because these were things Tom was trying to hide?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think those were all because that was a dead body. Well, it wasn't a dead body, it was a grave.
Yeah,
why would Tom hide paintings?
Because he was hiding what they were saying.
But, I mean, they already had the paintings. They didn't...
No, but he was hiding what they were saying from
anyone future who might stumble across them, I suppose. But
or maybe those were things that he just liked or something.
Yeah, the real impression I get now that you mention this is just that Tom was like, okay, if you're going to do puzzles that AI can't solve, I'll do AI puzzles that humans won't think to solve.
And since you're both Ava and Tom, you can solve those puzzles logically within the game.
Ooh, that's a really, really good observation. I like this. Ooh. So hooray, we learned something during the spoiler cast.
Because if you listen and stuff to all of that stuff, it's all basically finding stuff mostly about Tom and how people viewed him. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not really seeing how the paintings fit in there, but...
Well, they were there with notes.
Yeah, I don't remember what the note said at this point.
It was talking about the goddess of something or whatever being taken by a bull.
It's the rape of Europa.
Ah.
By Zeus the bull.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember what the significance was, but it somehow tied into Tom, and I don't remember. But I assumed that they had some kind of significance, and I kind of want to go back and look at what was in that room now.
I mean, aside from the fact that, like, they're on Europa,
Well, yeah, there's that. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything big we've not talked about yet in terms of narrative stuff. Okay, I've got a question for you both.
Yeah.
Do you think that this ending would have been... the ending of the game would have been stronger or weaker if there hadn't been a choice at the end?
It would have been weaker. Because the whole point is choice, I think, in my opinion.
I agree with you to an extent. Like, I would suggest, and I could be totally off base here, if the only choice was to let the humans go and to do the human choice thing, would that, by being the canon choices that Tom, was past the Turing test, would that be more interesting? Like, it's probably less interesting. It's just a thought I had in passing.
Well, here's the thing. From what I see, I like it when developers use a game and the strengths of a game in order to tell a story. And the strength of this was you can explore and you can read and figure out what's going on. This is something that no other medium, in my opinion, can do. Where this whole run around, pick up clues, read what's going on and stuff, and then have a decision that really helps you engage with the choice. And I feel like games really have that ability for a story to get you to care, to make you think about it and wonder what it means and stuff like that in a way that no other medium has. And I think having that end choice for many games, not all of them, makes it very strong because it's taking advantage of a very strong mechanic that games have in terms of storytelling. And for this one, I think it was very important to have that choice because the whole game is about that kind of like, what should I do? What should be done? What's the right thing to do?
That
kind of thing.
I sort of agree with you. So I agree. I don't think it would necessarily be weaker if they didn't have both endings, but I think it would tell a different story. Because what I think the strength is of the dual ending, like, this is one of those games where I don't think that I would look at it and say, like, okay, so I saw both endings and my canon ending is this. Like, for Life is Strange, there's only one ending to that game for me. I've seen the other ending, and it's just not the one that I choose to believe. But for this game, I like that I've seen both, because I think to myself, this doesn't end as just like one thing happened. The whole idea is that you get to see the outcome of both and
understand
like the Tom and the dilemma and like what the actual game has been about, because I feel like it really puts it into perspective with like a single choice at the end, that this is, you know, that he can either disobey his programming or not, and like what does it mean if he doesn't? Does it mean the same thing? And I agree with you, Mari, that like games have the unique ability to get us to have ownership over a story, and so we feel like, you know, you can't do the same thing with a movie or a television show. It's just like, it's not the same, because even if like you're going through a linear storyline, you still feel like in a good game at least, you still feel like you had some control over what happened. So
yeah, that is totally fair, and now you've put it that way, I'm like, yeah, you make a very good case for that. So yeah, woo.
No, but it's a good question, though.
Well,
yeah,
the fact that I asked that
question,
and that we were able to have differing opinions on it means that we're not robots, so that's good.
What if we're just robots that were programmed differently?
Exactly. Who knows? For all you know, I'm a butt-loving AI.
That's fine. I accept you for your butt AI.
Thank you. I'm very thankful that you accept my unique form of sentience that is, or sapience, that is not human in nature.
Oh no! Now I'm attracted to you even more because you're a robot.
Oh no! That's how this works.
I just want to have a robot spouse one day, or at least have Raphael get his arms cut off, so then he has to get robot arms.
So weird and dark.
By the way, so in the background, I've had this like page of Europa up, and I've just been like glancing over it. So the etymology of her Greek name, like, it can symbolically be interpreted to be construed as intelligent or open-minded.
Ah, cool.
So, anyways.
Yeah, that observation you made.
Yeah. Wow. Go me.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of other things to talk about now. It's like 2 a.m. and my brain's just turned to mush. I'm like, I'll be fine once we get on a topic. I'm struggling to work out.
Well, don't force anything. I'd rather have a dense, good discussion than a long, forced one.
Well, is there anything else either of you are thinking, particularly of being like, oh yeah, we need to talk about this still?
I feel like I got all my points out.
Yeah, but I mean, I like that. I really liked that over the course of the story, we were meant to believe, like, or at least this is how I felt. I feel like we were led to believe varying things. Like, it kept us guessing without lying to us. I don't like it. I don't like it. I like it when games, like, they kind of tease out information over the course of a game to bring you to different conclusions and to get you to kind of, like, guess what's going on along the way. But I don't like it when they get you to do that through, like, deliberate misunderstanding or misdirection or, like, outright lying to you.
Yeah.
I agree. Because then you guess the wrong thing, and then you just feel like, oh, well, that's bullshit, because the reason I guessed that.
Like in Heavy Rain, where they're like, no, it's not, but it is, but it's not, but it is. And you're like, okay, well, That's not clever. You're just lying.
I'm just saying his hands are too big to fold origami, okay? It's fucking impossible.
I'm just saying that there's no way he murdered a person and cleaned up the crime scene in 11 seconds while someone turned around. Like, that's just...
And they didn't hear it.
What the fuck?
So, yeah, it's nice that the Turing test never actively lied, and... Yeah, like, considering how long this game is, there's relatively little narrative. It's just very well-written narrative, sort of padded a little bit here and there. And it never felt like it was narratively light. They just had very good narrative, very well spread through.
This was like, I mean, in terms of a Let's Play, this was like ideal material because it gives you just enough things to think about so that you can like think about it through the course of every puzzle, and you're getting like little bits of information between each one. But you never, at least I never felt like we were like starving for more information. You were just eager to find out what was happening.
They gave you just enough information each time so that you had something to talk about for the entirety of the next puzzle until the next bit of story came up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they got that balance very well done. So yeah. For a story-like game, it never felt light on story.
It didn't feel light. I was like, this game is so dense with story.
Yeah, and then you get to like talk spoilers about it. I'm like, there was a lot of really nice, engaging flavor text.
Yeah.
Not very much spoilery.
Yeah, It was, not very much like spoilery.
It was the journey rather than the destination for the most part.
What spoiler text? What are we talking about?
I was just talking about how there wasn't like a huge amount of like, oh, the big surprise spoilers. Was very little of the narrative content in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's more like thoughts on rather than like, oh, here's the big reveal spoiler.
Yeah, it was just here's a different person's perspective on something to do with AI and the entire idea of consciousness. We'll just leave you with that to discuss for a bit.
What people's interpretation of the storyline was if they didn't like read stuff and they just blasted on through.
Oh, I'd be so curious because, okay, so we got a note from one of the people who worked on the game, and we've since talked to a couple of them on Twitter, like voice actors and whatnot, who said they enjoyed our Let's Play because we took forever and went through everything like with a fine-tooth comb, which is always like a huge compliment to us whenever that happens because, that's what we try to do, and it was a really enjoyable game. But yeah, I can't imagine what people got out of it if they didn't read anything.
If you don't do the supplemental reading, you don't get a lot of the like discussion topics around the outside, but you will still get the core topic of there's this guy called Tom. He can't get into this facility. He's using you to get in there. Is he manipulating you? Yes, he was manipulating you, but he kind of has a point. Yeah, you got to deal with the emotional versus the moral. Here's your big moment. Are you going to let them leave or are you going to kill them? Like, you still get that arc. You just miss out on a lot of the very interesting discussion fodder and the stuff that would start you having interesting conversations. Like, you miss out on a lot of the stuff to do with the Chinese room and the nature of...
Yeah, because they would walk in on the Chinese room and not know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, wait, no, that was a side thing. So they would never even know about it.
Tom does tell you about the Chinese room thought experiment, but like you could just completely miss actually seeing it. And the scientist who had his notes in there about like, well, something passed the Chinese room test, but what does that actually prove?
Can I just point out that total Nubasaurs doing their homework, and everyone should congratulate them on doing that. Sorry, I just want everyone to do their homework. Sorry.
Spanish total Nubasaur.
Yeah, I did mine before I came on the podcast actually because I wanted to be able to like relax and just.
Sorry, I just always get worried that people won't do their homework if they watch the streams on the school night. So I'm like, do your homework. So
I did my homework before doing this, but my homework did consist of making a slideshow of butts, so I didn't take too much convincing to do my homework.
Are you a butt PowerPoint expert?
I believe so. I'm now Twitter verified as Khaleesi of Butts, so that makes it official now.
Perfect.
The mental image of this, where you have a really long braid and you've never been defeated, and
no one shall defeat me in the game of butts.
The throne of butts.
So yeah, I don't think I've really got anything else to bring up about the Turing test.
I think we got it.
I mean, aside from it was really awesome, I enjoyed finding all the secrets, and also this was a unique experience where I feel like we got to discover a lot of the secrets together.
Yeah.
Which was cool because it wasn't like you could find them foreseeably during the course of the regular game, or you could avoid them, but it wasn't like, oh, you have to go stand in this corner and jump up and down 47 times and then
that's an actual thing that
I know.
was in a game where you have to you jump on a rock 50 times.
Also, I want to fuck a robot voice, so that the game's got that going for it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm glad that we're not the only one.
Oh no,
he has just enough emotion to make him just human enough, but not too human.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm usually a lady lover, but oh my goodness, Tom.
If he was like, "Hello, Stacy, what are you doing?" They'd be like, "Oh wait."
I'd be like, "No, this is robot rape."
Considering you got talking with the voice actors, maybe that can happen.
Oh my god! Yeah. I don't know who did the voice. Oh my god!
Find out who did the voice and just get chatting. See if they can record you some custom lines.
Yeah. Like when I got the voice actor for Solus to talk for Stacy.
Yeah.
And then he said, I hope I said that right. I was like, you're the one who said it! You should know!
No, but he didn't, write the dialogue. They just read
the
words. I know,
but he said, no, Stacy, he knows Elvish and is fluent in it.
But, that's like when people watch our old Let's Plays and they'll, quote things to us. And I'm like, listen, I don't even remember what I said last week, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll have people bring up stuff I've talked about in Let's Plays, and I'll be like, wait, how on earth did you know that? Oh, did I talk about that once? I guess I did.
Is it too much to ask
saying it.
that this famous person remember every single Elvish line they knew? Is it too much to ask?
Yes.
So
woo, that's been our spoiler cast, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's all the stuff that I wanted to talk about, unless you guys have something else.
It's all the spoilery things I was itching to discuss.
Mari?
I'm good.
All right, so Laura, where can everybody find you?
If you want to find me talking about butts and video games on the internet, you can find me at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. That's Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Laura K. Buzz on YouTube, Laura K. Buzz on Patreon, pretty much just Laura K. Buzz everywhere.
And Mari is at Geek Remix pretty much everywhere, and then I'm at Geek Remix a lot. But you guys probably know that if you're listening to this. So, all right.
Woo! Woo?
Woo! Woo!
Woo!